Next news is out of Iraq. ISIS and Iraq militants are getting stronger again. So the BBC has been told by the Kurdish and Western intelligence officials that ISIS presence in Iraq is actually a sophisticated insurgency. So they're seeing a rise in ISIS attacks in Iraq, but they're also saying that they have better intelligence than ever before, technological intelligence. They have more weapons. They've got a lot of money for food, money for shelter, and things that they haven't had before. So this growth of IS presence in Iraq has a lot of people concerned.
Yeah, so here's the thing. Even if ISIS was not a thing anymore, the underlying forces that made ISIS a thing are all still there, right? So, by the way, even if ISIS is still around, they're not a state anymore because they don't own, like they went going back to the more traditional model of what it means to be a terrorist group, like the al-Qaeda model, because they don't own, like they don't have a caliph anymore, they don't have a government anymore, they don't rule over people anymore. So they're Islamic, but they're not as Islamic State anymore, right? But I guess they keep the branding. This is why they're looking at other countries, like Philippines, and they're looking at a lot of places in Africa as well to start a new state, because that was the appeal. The marketing of ISIS compared, like the reason why they got so popular compared to all the other terrorist group is the fact that they had a state. So just finding another place to rule to get to people to get that branding back on, the marketing, the PR department back on running would be very appealing to them. But the problem is that whether they have a state or not, in Iraq and in Syria, all the anti-Shia, by the way, a lot of people think that the ISIS main target is like maybe Americans or the Jews. It's not. It's Shias, right? So all the anti-Shia hatred, all the economical underlying forces that keeps people upset with the people that are ruling them now, they're all still there, right? So even if it wasn't ISIS, even if it wasn't the branding of ISIS, this still the people are still around. The people that used to be called ISIS, they might not join other terrorist group. And the problem is that if they keep the killings in Iraq and Syria, they might even grow, Americans and Europeans and Australian people might not care, because, as long as they're not exporting their terrorism, they might keep, killing a lot of people. And we should care, because terrorism shouldn't matter to us only when it happens to somewhere that we recognize as the first world. If we care about people, we should care about terrorism when it's happening in Syria and Iraq as well. And again, this is, so what I'm thinking is that the comeback, a lot of the comeback might not be even branded as ISIS. It might be, a lot of the comeback of these people might be branded as other terrorist group that we're not going to hear about, that is not going to get much coverage, is just because they're killing their fellow Syrians or their fellow Iraqis. So I'm hoping that it does get the attention that it deserves, right? But yeah, Ali, you wanted to say something?
No.
Okay.
I was just agreeing with you.
B just saying, I'm surprised they don't think Allah is against them since they failed the first attempt at the caliphate. Well, actually, their prediction was that they're going to fail first. The whole idea, if you look at their end of the world prediction that they had, was that they will be defeated until there's only until there are very, very few of them left, and that's when the Mahdi is going to come back and is going to kill the Antichrist. That was ISIS, and again, that is very accurate if you actually read the Hadith. That is, a lot of their views is according to scripture, right? Maybe a lot of the ISIS members that are still left, they're like, yeah, this was exactly what we thought was going to happen. So maybe that's why they're not. But a lot of them left. Again, it really depends on the ISIS member, right? A lot of them didn't a lot of them, some of them that are still there, like, yeah, this is what we predicted. Some of them that are quitting and joining other groups are like, oh, only joined ISIS because I saw them as a big group that was very powerful and was showing all these people that who's boss. And now that they're not powerful enough, this is, you know, they're going to quit and join some other groups. So you can't really just generalize all ISIS members as what their ideology is or what is their main motivation. It's all over the place. There are some very common trends or like stuff that unites them all, but there's also a lot of gray area. Again, if I want to get into details, I could speak an hour over this. Steve is saying, this is the top comment by Steve, is saying, fake news, they were defeated in February 2017. Dear leader, okay, this is satirical, by the way. Steve is saying, dear leader had a plan that took them out in 30 days because he's smarter than their generals. Such a stable genius. For people that don't know what Steve is referring to, he's referring to Trump, and he's making fun of Trump, just for them.
Atheists are under attack in many places. If they were Christians, their voices would be heard. If they were Jews, their voices would be heard. If they were Muslims, their voices would be heard. But they are atheists, and not many seem to be listening. Let's make it difficult for them to ignore us. We have built a global community, and now we are tearing down geographic, cultural, and language barriers so we can find each other and support each other. In the last decade, we have built the largest atheist community in the world. Now we're doing the same in other languages. With your help, we have started Atheist Republic in Persian and Arabic.
انضميت مؤخرا لأسرة Atheist Republic وحيصير عندي بودكاست باللغة العربية.
As we grow, we can dedicate more time, staff, and resources to start doing the same in Spanish, Portuguese, Malay, Bengali, Urdu, Hindi, and other languages. We are providing community, support, informative content, and amplifying the voices of those who need protection, especially in countries where people feel isolated simply for their lack of belief. We want to be there for them, and we are only getting started. Help us get there. Check in the description for ways you can support our projects.